Incredible love revealed. Millionaire CEO discovers amazing single mom's heartwarming secret. Every morning, Sarah stepped into the Maplewood diner, her heart swelling with hope. The bell above the door jingled cheerfully, a familiar sound that welcomed her to a world of late-night laughter and comforting conversations. As a devoted single mom in her 30s, she poured her soul into serving pancakes and coffee while raising her 2 young children, a vibrant 5-year-old daughter with curls that bounced like spring flowers and a spirited 7-year-old son who wore a constant grin. Life hadn't been easy since her husband walked out, embracing a path of selfishness, but Sarah's laughter filled the diner, a light even on the darkest days. From the cushy confines of his high-rise office, Jake, a self-made millionaire CEO, noticed her from time to time during his quick lunch breaks. He observed her in action, her delicate hands moving with practiced grace, balancing tray after tray, always smiling, radiating an energy that drew eyes. But he remained oblivious to the struggles she endured, too wrapped up in the world of tech and profits to see the warmth in her spirit. One fateful afternoon, a storm brewed in the heart of Maplewood. News spread like wildfire. Jake's company was set to open a massive facility right in the suburb, threatening local businesses, including Sarah's beloved diner. As word hit, Sarah felt her heart constrict. She would not let this happen. With fire in her eyes, she rallied her neighbors, igniting a spirit of camaraderie that shook the very foundations of the community. "Together, we can fight this," Sarah cried, her voice echoing with conviction. But Jake, steeped in ambition, viewed her protests as nothing more than noise, dismissing the community's plight as background chatter. He was focused on numbers, graphs, and profits, unaware of the families that depended on the diner for survival. Then came the moment of clash at the town hall meeting. The tension was palpable as Sarah stood in front of a room full of angry voices, a modern-day David facing Goliath. She raised her hand, her resolve shaking the crowd. Every word was infused with hope for all those stuck in a struggle similar to hers. But Jake, with a furrowed brow, shot back with business jargon wrapped in cold indifference. Their heated exchange unveiled raw, aching truths: Sarah's pain from being abandoned, Jake's South's relentless drive stemming from a childhood where love was buried beneath expectations. "Don't you see?" Sarah pleaded, her voice trembling with emotion. "This isn't just about profit, it's about people. It's about families." Jake paused, doubt flickering across his face. The deeper layer of their interaction peeled back, revealing a shared vulnerability. For the first time, the walls he built around himself began to topple. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. But just as they seemed on the brink of understanding, a shocking announcement echoed through the meeting room. The mayor revealed plans to expedite construction, throwing chaos into Sarah's carefully woven dreams. The room erupted into frantic murmurs, and as Jake's gaze locked with Sarah's, they both understood a confrontation was unavoidable. Did Jake have the courage to step outside his comfort zone and align himself with the community he never truly saw, or would ambition push him further away from the very heart he began to recognize in Sarah? As that chilling question hung in the air, the fate of Maplewood, of families, dreams, and futures teetered on the edge, waiting for someone to take a stand. The murmur of disappointment rippled through the crowded room like a wave crashing against the shore. Sarah's heart sank. This wasn't just a fight for her diner, it was a fight for everything she had worked for: her children, her community, and the life she had carefully cobbled together from the shards of heartbreak. The whispers swirled around her, but all she could hear was the pounding of her own heart. Jake, still frozen in place, felt the heat of scrutiny surround him. As glances shifted uncomfortably, he stole a look at Sarah. The fire in her eyes pierced through the barrier of indifference he had woven around himself. For the first time, he felt the weight of his decisions. It wasn't just a business deal. This was affecting real people with hopes, dreams, and stories. He turned back to the mayor, raising his hand to speak. A few heads turned, surprised. "Wait," he said, the words heavy on his tongue. He cleared his throat, a nervous chill creeping down his spine. "I think we need to reconsider this." Gasps filled the room. Sarah blinked at him, unsure if she had heard correctly. Could he be stepping away from his fortress of ambition? The mayor frowned, clearly caught off guard. "Mr. Morgan," he started, sounding slightly irritated. "We've come too far. The plans are set." Jake continued, "But at what cost? This community deserves better than to have their lives disrupted for the sake of a dollar sign." He shifted uncomfortably, his chest tightening. He could feel a flicker of something hopeful within himself, something he had buried deep, compassion. The crowd stirred, disbelief turning to a glimmer of hope. "Are you actually saying you want to help us?" Someone shouted from the back, catching Jake's eye. He wasn't prepared for this. People were looking to him for guidance, for support. Yet, in that heated moment, he felt something shift not just in the room but within himself. Jake hesitated, the weight of expectation heavy on his shoulders. He had always fought for ambition, for success. But Sarah's words echoed in his mind, it was about people. He looked at her, truly looked at her for the first time. This wasn't just another obstacle, this was a chance to do something good. "Look," he said, taking a step forward. "I understand now that there are lives at stake here, real people who should matter." The sincerity in his voice took everyone by surprise, including himself. Sarah held her breath, hope blooming in her chest. "What are you saying?" she whispered, a tremor betraying her vulnerability. "I want to work with you," Jake said, locking eyes with her. "To find a way to balance progress and community. I believe we can do both." The room held its breath, unsure if this was just a fleeting moment of honesty. Slowly, murmurs of support began to build among the crowd. Could this really be happening? Was the ambitious CEO softening? Would he help save the diner? Before Sarah could respond, the mayor interjected, his disappointment morphing into skepticism. "And how do you propose to do that?" Jake shifted his weight, taking an instinctive step closer to Sarah. "Maybe we can designate part of the facility for community space. We can create jobs without demolishing the heart of Maplewood." As the crowd buzzed with energy and renewed hope, Sarah felt the barriers between her and Jake beginning to shift again. There was a connection forming, rooted in an understanding neither of them expected. But even as the tide seemed to turn, uncertainty coiled around Sarah's heart. What if Jake was just saying what they wanted to hear? What if this was another fleeting moment of clarity that would evaporate with the next corporate decision? As doubt crept in, the mayor seemed ready to counter Jake's proposal, pushing back against change. The future of the diner hung in the balance, along with Sarah's heart. Would Jake stand firm, or would the whirlwind of corporate greed sweep him away again? In that charged moment, she knew one thing: their next move could define everything. And as silence settled over the room, she glanced at Jake, hoping for clarity. Would he stand by her when the real battle began? Would he fight for more than just profit? The mayor leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, a deep frown etched on his face. "You think you can just propose a change like that and everyone will start singing your praises?" he questioned, his voice dripping with skepticism. Jake felt the weight of every pair of eyes on him, the air thick with tension. It was either sink or swim, and something in him stirred, urging him to fight not just for a business deal, but for something far greater. "I know it's not a simple fix," he replied, his voice steady even as uncertainty flared in his gut. "But if I've learned anything in this moment, it's that change is necessary. For all of us." Sarah's heart raced. This was a platform she could use, a springboard for the community's voice. "Jake is right," she said, taking a bold step forward, her tone rallying the crowd. We don't just need a new building, we need hope. We need jobs, yes, but we also need to feel seen. Our diner is part of Maplewood's soul. Yeah. Someone shouted from the back, and the crowd erupted in murmurs of agreement. Faces brightened with shared enthusiasm, a wave of hope threading through the room. It was as if the collective heartbeat of the community was sinking to a new rhythm, one pulsing with possibility. The mayor glanced from Sarah to Jake, the tension tightening the lines on his forehead. You really think a few concessions will fix everything? This is a business deal that's already in motion. You're asking me to reconsider something that could cost us millions. There's more at stake than just money, Mayor, Jake pleaded. The community deserves a plan that includes them, not one that bulldozes their lives. A flicker of defiance sparked in his voice, igniting a reaction in the room. He felt emboldened by Sarah's presence beside him. Somewhere in the back, a woman piped up, "We've been fighting for this diner for years. Can't you see it's about more than just a sandwich shop? It's about family." Her words hung in the air, resonating deeply with everyone present. Sarah glanced at Jake, her heart swelling. He was starting to understand that this was about more than business. It was about connection, about a shared journey. The murmurs grew louder, voices rising in a chorus of agreement. If Jake could genuinely embrace this new path, there was hope. Maybe they could save more than just a diner, they could rejuvenate their community. Taking a deep breath, Sarah spoke again. If we can create a space that serves our community and supports the development you envision, we can make this work. Let us brainstorm together. Let us be the example of how progress and compassion can walk hand in hand. The mayor opened his mouth to protest but was cut off by the enthusiastic chatter that erupted all around him. It was like a tidal wave of energy had surged through the room, washing over doubts and fears. Suddenly, Jake stepped toward Sarah, his eyes bright with newfound resolve. Let us not just settle for community space. What if we included a program that teaches skills, something that helps people actually grow? His voice boomed, infused with purpose and certainty. A well-spoken man in the front row, known for his work in local development, stood up. If we can get the support of the town, maybe we can secure funding for local programs. It will create real opportunities. As enthusiasm swelled, Sarah felt hope blooming fiercely in her chest, emotions flooding over her. Jake wasn't just a businessman anymore, he was a partner. Perhaps they could truly build something better together, but even as the crowd rallied behind them, the mayor's eyes narrowed. Bold words, Mr. Morgan. But talk is cheap. You need to prove that you mean this. Jake's confident demeanor faltered slightly. The mayor knew the stakes. The room had never felt so charged. As the discussion spiraled into plans and theories, Sarah caught Jake's glance. For an unguarded moment, she felt a spark pass between them, a connection that hinted at something deeper beyond a shared goal. But doubt flickered at the edges of her mind. Would he stand firm through the challenges that lay ahead? The confrontation felt far from over, a storm brewing just beneath the surface. The community rallied, but what would it take to ensure Jake's resolve held strong when the real test came? With everything teetering on the brink of change, Sarah wondered if they could truly forge a path together. Would they find their way, or would ambition reign once more, leaving the heart of Maplewood to fade away? The air crackled with intensity as voices filled the room, a blend of excitement and uncertainty weaving through the crowd. Jake felt as if he were perched on the edge of an endless cliff, and every whispered agreement from the townspeople tilted him closer to a leap of faith. Prove it, then, the mayor pressed, his gaze piercing through the clamor. What will you do differently? Show me how you'll transform these ideas into reality. Taking a deep breath, Jake locked eyes with Sarah, seeking strength in her presence. We'll hold community workshops, he began, his voice ringing with growing confidence. Let us invite townsfolk to share their skills, their stories, and their needs. We'll create a community council. Real representation, not just lip service. The murmuring shifted gears, some voices chiming in to share what they could bring to the table. A young artist wanted to teach painting, while an elderly veteran spoke of leadership skills. Sarah felt a warmth grow within her. This was more than just talk. This was planting seeds of action, but the mayor remained unmoved. You'll need more than ideas. You'll need funds to get this off the ground. How do you plan to secure them? Jake's heart raced. I'll seek local businesses support. We have to show them that investing in this community is worthwhile. And I won't stop there. We can apply for grants and reach out to nonprofit organizations for assistance. Sarah watched as he navigated the tension, his passion burning bright. Was she really witnessing a transformation? Doubt faded as she became swept up in the shared enthusiasm. This wasn't only Jake's battle anymore, it belonged to all of them. Count me in, shouted a local teacher, raising her hand and spurring more volunteers to voice their commitment. I'll help with educational programs. The momentum shifted palpably as more voices joined the fray. They rallied around a vision, energy surging as each contributed bright ideas. It was exhilarating. For the first time in a long while, hope felt tangible. After a long moment of listening, the mayor folded his arms, skepticism still etched on his face, but his eyes showed signs of wavering. Actions speak louder than words. If you can build a solid plan and gather support, maybe we could reconsider the proposal. The crowd erupted in cheers, a chorus of excitement washing over Jake and Sarah. They stood united at the forefront of a powerful movement, an energy swelling between them that felt electric, but in the midst of their triumph, a small voice broke through the jubilation. Will it be enough for our diner to stay open, though? It was a simple question, but it cut through the noise. The room quieted, all eyes on Jake and Sarah, awaiting an answer. Jake's heart sank. The weight of the community's hopes rested on his shoulders. Yes, he said, his voice steady, we will find a way. We will fight for the diner. Not just for it to stay open, but for it to thrive. That's how we'll prove this is about more than a business deal, it's about rebuilding lives. But even as he spoke, Jake felt the unease simmer beneath his words. How could he guarantee success when the odds seemed stacked against them? As the meeting came to a close, Sarah caught Jake's eye again. A sense of unity blossomed, but it was intertwined with uncertainty. They had ignited something powerful, yet the journey ahead loomed like a shadow, thick and uninviting. Would they indeed be able to meet the challenge head-on, or would their dreams fall flat before even gaining momentum? The weight of unanswered questions lingered in the air, heavy with possibility and dread. In that moment, amidst cheers and excitement, they quietly shared a moment of understanding. Together, they would confront whatever came next, but could their partnership withstand the challenges they now faced? As the crowd dispersed, a new feeling bubbled up inside both of them, a compelling desire to become more than just colleagues. But would they dare to explore this uncharted territory while fighting for their community? The sun began to set as Jake and Sarah stepped out of the community center, a golden hue painting the horizon. The energy from the meeting still crackled around them, but as they walked side by side, doubts loomed like dark clouds. What now? Sarah asked, her brow furrowing with concern. They both knew that words alone wouldn't be enough. The excitement in the room had turned into a heavy responsibility. We need a concrete plan, like yesterday. Jake ran a hand through his hair, feeling the weight of the moment. I know. I thought we had fire, but now it feels like we're just talking. Talking's good, but it's only a starting point, Sarah replied. She felt her heart racing again, not from the thrill of the crowd, but from the growing uncertainty. We need a timeline, like when we can start these workshops. A calendar to show people we mean business. Nodding, Jake pulled out his phone. Let's brainstorm right now. What could we do this week? She felt inspired by his determination. Maybe a flyer campaign to announce the workshops. We could get people involved, and have them contribute ideas ahead of time. Great idea. We'll need to hit up social media, too. If we show the vision online, we might get even more participation, Jake added, his excitement reigniting. Sarah felt a rush of warmth toward him. Seeing his passion renewed her own. And the diner event, what about a fundraiser? Something big that brings everyone together. Yes. We could organize a community cook-off. Everyone loves food. They could pay to enter, and we could even have local judges to spice it up. Their laughter blended with the warmth of their dreams, filling the air with hope. As they walked through the small town, they began mapping out the details, names, and resources. Jake could see the possibilities bloom in Sarah's eyes, and joy sparked within him, but just as the excitement built, Sarah stopped. Her smile faded slightly. Jake, I want this to work, I really do. But what if we can't raise enough money? What if we fail? I can't bear the thought of letting these people down. The vulnerability in her voice cut through the jovial atmosphere. Jake's heart clenched with empathy. I feel the pressure too. But we can't afford to think that way. This community deserves a real chance. She nodded, but the worry lingered. What if they expect too much from us? Jake stepped closer, warmth radiating from him. Well, we can't promise a miracle, but we can promise to give our all. And that has to mean something. As their eyes met, a spark ignited between them, a connection that went beyond the community's needs. Sarah could almost feel the walls of uncertainty begin to crack. Could it be that they were building something much larger together? Suddenly, a flash of movement caught her eye from the diner's window. Her heart dropped. A group of people were inside, and she recognized them. They were the owners, the very heart of the diner, chatting nervously. What if they hear about our meeting? What if they give up hope? Jake followed her gaze. We have to talk to them. Now. Stealing her resolve, Sarah nodded as they approached the diner. The chatter inside hushed as they stepped in, the warmth of the diner mixing with their apprehension. Hey there. Jake's voice rang out. We come with good news. But as heads turned and wary eyes fell on them, Sarah wondered if they could truly believe in good news when their hopes were so precariously balanced. Would they embrace the dream, or shrink back into doubt? As the weight of their community's uncertain future loomed above, the atmosphere shifted, thick with anticipation. How would the diner owners react? Would they step up to support this new chapter, or would fear snuff out their hard-won light? The moment Jake stepped inside the diner, the aroma of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon wrapped around him like a comforting embrace. But the warmth didn't reach the knot in his stomach. Sarah's hand brushed against his as they approached the counter, a silent acknowledgement of shared nerves. The diner owners, Sam and Clara, exchanged cautious glances, their expressions a mixture of surprise and concern. Clara's blonde hair, usually bright with laughter, seemed dimmer. What's this about good news? She asked, her tone laced with skepticism. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steadying with each word. We just had a meeting to share ideas for community workshops. We want to bring everyone together to support each other. And we thought the diner could be our first big event. Jake watched Clara's eyes narrow, doubt creeping into her face. You mean like a fundraiser? Exactly. Jake chimed in, eager to inject energy into the conversation. A community cook-off. We can gather dozens of people. It'll be fun. Plus, it'll raise money for the workshops you've always wanted to offer. Clara's gaze flickered over to Sam, who was leaning against the counter, arms crossed. What if it doesn't work? Sam's voice was gruff, but there was a softness to it. What if no one shows up? Silence lingered in the air, punctuated only by the clinking of dishes. Jake felt Sarah's anxiety spike beside him, her fingers twitching ever so slightly. We're really passionate about this, she said, glancing at the two owners. We all want to see this diner thrive. To give people hope. We can't ignore the way this place connects us. Sam shifted, uncrossing his arms. Yeah, it's a heart and soul kinda thing, right? But those ideals don't pay the bills. Jake stepped closer, urgency bubbling up inside him. They could. If we all come together, the community can rally around something that matters to them. You hold the keys to that. Use the diner as the hub for change, it's where everyone gathers anyway. Let us be the catalyst. Clara's brow furrowed in thought. But what if we fail? We've tried things before. Her voice trailed off, leaving the weight of past disappointments hung in the air. Sarah took a breath and spoke from her heart. What if you don't? What if this is the start of something amazing? For all of us. We need to take risks to build something real. You don't have to do this alone. Jake felt a connection sparking in the space between them, the kind of connection that didn't just involve words, but a mutual understanding of vulnerability. Each of them had faced their own doubts, and each held the potential for change. Sam finally straightened, eyeing them with a mix of caution and curiosity. You really think people care enough? Absolutely, Jake responded, his voice unwavering. They want to believe. They need to believe. Together, we can make them realize they can dream again. After what felt like hours of silence, Clara's face softened a fraction. Okay, let us do it. But it's on you two to get the word out. Sarah's face broke into a radiant smile, and relief washed over Jake. He could feel the weight lifting, but a new responsibility settled in its place. Thank you. Sarah exclaimed, her voice full of excitement. We won't let you down. As they left the diner, the sunlight dipped lower in the sky, the gold now tinged with a hint of orange and red. They walked closely, their spirits lifted, but Jake sensed a heaviness still lodged deep in Sarah's heart. What's wrong? He asked gently. She looked at him, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. What if this is too much for us? What if we mess everything up? He placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. We build this together. Every step, every doubt we'll face it as a team. But even as he spoke, a voice in his mind whispered of the challenges ahead, the expectations, the logistics, and the potential for failure. Would they be enough? As they left the diner behind, Jake knew they were stepping into uncharted territory. The possibilities shimmered like the setting sun, but so did the shadows of doubt, just when he thought they were finally secure in their newfound partnership, an unexpected figure loomed in the distance. Someone he never expected to see here, someone who could change everything. Would this encounter shatter their fragile plans or forge an even stronger resolve? Jake's heart raced as the figure drew closer, each step echoing the unease in his chest. It was Ryan, the successful entrepreneur who had left town years ago, chasing ambition and fortune. He was a friend, once a brother in arms during those reckless, carefree days, but things had soured after an old argument left them estranged. What's he doing back here? Jake murmured, unable to keep the concern from his voice. Sarah glanced up at him, her brow furrowing in confusion. Do you know him? Jake nodded slowly. We used to be close before he left. Ryan came to a halt just a few feet away, a charming smile plastered on his face that didn't quite reach his eyes. Jake. Long time, man. I heard about the cook-off. Sounds like a fun idea. Jake tried to match his enthusiasm, though every fiber of his being screamed to steer clear. Yeah. We're hoping it brings the community together. Ryan's gaze shifted to Sarah. And who's this? This is Sarah, Jake replied, sensing the unspoken tension in the air. We're working together on the event. Nice to meet you, Sarah. You've got yourself a real go-getter here. Sarah smiled politely, but Jake felt the edge of her uncertainty creeping back. Ryan stepped a little closer, his voice lowering conspiratorially. How's it feel to be trying to save the world, huh? You sure you're ready for the pressure? Jake straightened. We're ready. We believe in this. Ryan raised an eyebrow, his casual demeanor faltering. Belief is nice, but sometimes reality hits hard. Just look at the diner. It's a risky bet. Jake felt Sarah tense beside him. We're aware, she interjected, her voice firm. But we need to take those risks. It's about community. It's time people felt connected again. Ryan chuckled, the sound lacking warmth. Sure, but dreams don't pay bills, right? Hope doesn't feed families. Jake clenched his fists, frustration simmering just below the surface. We can make it work together. A flicker of something like respect crossed Ryan's face. Together's great, but you need something more. You need funding, connections, someone with influence. Are you offering? Jake shot back, his tone sharper than intended. I could, Ryan replied, his grin returning, though it felt rehearsed. Or, I could just wish you the best from afar, no strings attached. Jake felt panic clawing at the back of his throat. What are you really getting at, Ryan? Nothing much, he shrugged, but Jake saw the glint in his eyes. Let's just say you might want to consider who your allies are in this venture. It's a dog-eat-dog world, buddy. With that, Ryan turned on his heel and strolled away, a cloud of tension hanging in the air behind him. Sarah broke the silence first. Do you think he is serious? About taking an interest in us? I don't know. I don't trust him. Sarah looked at him, her expression a mix of concern and resolve. He could help, but at what cost? Jake sighed, the burden of uncertainty weighing heavily. We'll figure it out, just like we planned. But we have to put our community first. As they walked away from the diner, the golden hues of sunset felt warmer than before, yet shadows of doubt curled around the edges of their hopes. They had a plan, but was it strong enough to withstand the challenges ahead? What if Ryan decided to play a different game? What if he wasn't the only obstacle that awaited them? Jake glanced at Sarah, determination flaring in his chest. No matter what, we won't give up. Right? She took a deep breath and nodded, but the flicker in her eyes told him she was still worried. Together, they stepped into the uncertain path ahead, each holding onto a thread of hope, unaware of the storm that was brewing just beyond the horizon. As they turned the corner, it seemed someone was always watching, waiting for their moment to strike. What awaited them next? Jake and Sarah entered the town square, where the sounds of laughter and chatter created a comforting backdrop. Children darted around, their faces glowing with delight, while families gathered under the flickering fairy lights strung across the trees. The warmth of the community's spirit wrapped around them, invigorating their resolve for the cook-off, but despite the cheerful atmosphere, unease gnawed at Jake. He tried to shake off Ryan's words, but they clung to him like shadows. Look around, Sarah, he said, gesturing to the bustling crowd. This is why we're doing this. These people deserve something to feel good about, I know, Sarah replied, squeezing his hand tightly. But Ryan has a point. We can't ignore the reality of our situation. It's not just about passion, it's about survival too. Jake's heart ached at her words. The last thing he wanted was to put their dreams at risk because of harsh truths. We'll get the support we need, he insisted, masking his own worry. We can start small, make it grow. Just like we talked about. As the sun dipped lower, blanketing the town in soft oranges and pinks, they spotted their friend setting up at a table. The energy around them felt contagious, a reminder of their shared mission, a sense of belonging. His frustration melted away just a little. Hey, are you two ready to take on this challenge? Ryan's voice sliced through the warm air, and they turned to face him again. His smile seemed genuine and yet so calculated. The brightness of the evening felt overshadowed by his presence. What are you doing here? Jake's voice took on an edge he didn't mean to project. Ryan raised his hands in mock surrender. Easy there, tough guy. I came to check out this exciting little event you're putting on. Thought I could help out. Jake's instincts screamed danger. Help us? Yeah. You know, connect you with a few people here who might be interested in sponsoring or mentoring. Or do you just want to take control? Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady, fiercely protective. For a moment, the air thickened with tension. Ryan's eyes sparkled with mischief, and Jake wondered if he was stepping into a trap. Let us not get hostile. I'm only trying to help, he said, the veneer of charm starting to crack. But seriously, you might want to consider my offer. I can help you move faster than you ever anticipated. Why struggle to get there when I can pave the way? Because we're not looking for shortcuts. Jake replied, his voice finally breaking. We want this to be real, not just a gimmick. The two glared at each other, and the crowd buzzed around them, oblivious to the growing conflict. Sarah's eyes darted between the two men, sensing the boiling point rising. Let us take a step back, she suggested, her tone softer. This event is for everyone, not just us. Let us keep it focused on the community. As tension simmered, a loud crash interrupted them. Jake turned just in time to see one of the tables topple, scattering dishes and angry shouts through the crowd. See? Ryan said, a hint of satisfaction creeping into his voice. Disaster's waiting at every turn. Wake up, Jake. This isn't a game. Jake's head swirled. He was done letting Ryan get to him. We're not backing down. Not now. With that, he turned away, pulling Sarah along with him. He took in the chaos erupting around them. The community spirit that had once filled the air seemed fractured now. Determination bubbled in his chest. As they found shelter in a corner, Sarah looked up, her eyes filled with a mix of admiration and fear. What do we do now? We stand our ground, Jake answered, feeling the weight of their mission settle upon his shoulders more than ever. But I have this gnawing feeling that things are about to get tougher. Ryan won't let this go. They shared a moment of silence, a quiet understanding passing between them. But lurking beneath that silence was a pressing question: how far would Ryan go to undermine their dream? As the night wore on, the stakes felt higher than ever, and every moment surged with possibility. But in the flicker of the lights, darkness still lurked, waiting for the right moment to strike. What would it take for them to navigate their way through this storm? Jake and Sarah stepped back, their hearts pounding as they watched the scene unfold. The once giddy atmosphere had shifted. Anger and frustration surged through the crowd, causing murmurs and glances to ricochet like unseen projectiles. Faces tightened, and shoulders squared. The holiday spirit felt distant, like a flicker threatened by the wind. Should we help? Sarah asked. Her grip was tight on Jake's arm, a signal of their shared concern more than a physical need for support. Let it settle for a moment. We can jump in if things get out of hand, Jake replied, scanning the crowd. He knew if they attempted to intervene too soon, they could get swallowed in the frenzy. They were there to uplift, not to get caught in chaos. Jake's eyes caught Ryan again, watching from the edges with a too casual demeanor. He looked pleased, almost entertained, as the chaos unfolded. It sent chills down Jake's spine. Was this all part of Ryan's plan? The thought festered in his mind, threatening to blur their focus. Despite the turmoil, a flicker of laughter broke through. A child, barely old enough to walk, giggled as they tried to gather the fallen plates. The sight tugged at Jake's heart, reminding him why they were fighting. They were building something for those kids, those families, all the warm memories that a harsh reality seemed ready to crush. Look at them, he said softly, nodding toward the child. It's for them, Sarah. We can't lose sight of that. Sarah softened, her resolve melting like the last traces of daylight. You're right. We have to stay true to our purpose even when things feel messy. But messiness loomed larger than ever. As the angry voices rose, Jake felt the weight of uncertainty cast a shadow over their project. His mind swirled with possibilities, each darker than the next. Would the crowd turn on Jake and Sarah, blaming them for the chaos? Would Ryan use this against them? Before he could voice another thought, Sarah suddenly perked up. "Look!" she exclaimed, pointing as the mayor stepped onto a nearby podium, hands raised. It was a sign of authority, a beacon of hope amidst the brewing storm. "Everyone, please settle down. We're here to celebrate our community." The mayor's voice boomed, trying to regain control. "We can't let one little accident ruin this day." The crowd quieted, murmurs continuing like wind through trees. Hope flickered in Jake's chest. If only they could make this night a success, perhaps they could reignite that spirit the mayor spoke about. "Let us get back to our table," Jake suggested, the energy shifting within him. "If we can lighten the mood, might as well start anew." With urgency, they navigated through the shift, rejoining their friends. One volunteer, a cheerful woman named Emily, was already starting to tidy up, her laughter sprinkled throughout, making light of broken dishes. "Hey, you two! We need you!" she cried, waving them over. "The energy is low, and everyone could use some smiles." Jake exchanged a determined glance with Sarah, their hearts aligning as if they were part of the same rhythm. They stepped forward together, instinctively knowing this was part of their fight. "All right, time to rally the troops," Jake said, and with surprising enthusiasm, they began to engage the crowd again. "Who's up for a cooking challenge?" Sarah shouted, her voice warm and inviting. "We have space for anyone who wants to show off their skills. Let us make this festive." The crowd shifted, curiosity igniting within the fuzzy atmosphere. The mayor stepped down from his platform, moving toward Jake and Sarah with a smile. "This is exactly the spark we need." Just then, amidst the buzz, Jake spotted Ryan slipping away into the shadows. His stomach churned again. What was Ryan planning now? In that moment, nothing felt certain. Yet as laughter returned and people began pulling out their cooking gear, Jake held on to a single thought: they had ignited something bigger than any one person could crush. But as they turned to set up, the feeling of something lurking in the background didn't leave Jake. How would Ryan retaliate? And for how long could they keep this beacon shining bright, alive against the encroaching darkness? The chaotic evening took a different turn as laughter began to fill the air again. The once falling plates had transformed into stepping stones toward unity. Jake and Sarah, standing shoulder to shoulder, felt the pulse of the community re-emerging, like the beat of a drum after a storm. "Look at them," Jake said, scanning the crowd. "They believe in this." It was a realization that sent warmth flooding through him, a reminder of the spark they had ignited together. Sarah turned to him, her eyes glimmering. "We can make this work. We just need to show them what's possible." Her voice soared with newfound determination, and Jake felt it swell in his chest too. With renewed energy, they rallied everyone. Emily was there, drawing in the crowd with her infectious enthusiasm. "Let us see who makes the best chili. Or maybe the fluffiest pancakes." The chatter built, excitement blooming across faces once marred by doubt. As they began organizing cooking stations, Sarah caught Jake's gaze, a question lingering in her eyes. Would they really pull this off? He reached out, his hand brushing hers as he nodded, igniting a spark that spoke volumes. What they were building was bigger than either of them had anticipated. But just as hope started to settle, a reverberating voice cut through the atmosphere. It was Ryan, stepping back into the fray with an air of casual confidence. Jake felt a tension building in his gut. "What a charming little spectacle you two have created," he chuckled, surveying the scene. "But remember, events like this take careful planning. Fun won't pay the bills." The crowd's energy faltered, whispers of worry returning. Sarah stepped forward, a newfound boldness sparking within her. "We're here for more than fun. We're building something meaningful, a sense of community. Something we can't afford to overlook because of your cynicism." Jake beamed at her bravery, feeling a strength ripple through him. "You need to recognize that this diner and our community isn't just a business deal. It's a lifeline." Ryan smirked, clearly unfazed. Lifelines don't usually come free. Be careful you don't drown in those ideals. The tension crackled, and Jake stepped closer to Sarah, anchoring himself to her strength. He would not let Ryan's poison seep into their moment. But in the quiet that followed, the mayor stepped in again, his authoritative voice slicing through the tension. If we've learned anything tonight, it's about resilience. It's about standing together. Hope flickered once more, and Jake felt it swell like a wave, washing over the crowd. The mayor faced Ryan firmly. We won't let naysayers deter us. Jake caught Sarah smiling wide, her heart beating to a rhythm both familiar and exhilarating. They were in this together, an unbreakable bond forged in the fires of doubt and hope. As the cooking competition kicked off, laughter filled the air again, fueled by playful banter and spirited challenges. Children raced to find the freshest vegetables, mothers exchanged recipes, and neighbors cheered each other on. It was like a tapestry coming alive, patchwork stories intertwined, stitching the fabric of their community tighter. Through it all, Jake and Sarah shared laughter, blissful in the camaraderie that enveloped them. Do you see this? He asked, gesturing to the bustle around him. This is what we fought for. It's so much more than I imagined. She replied, her voice brimming with joy. And as the night wore on, Jake couldn't help but feel a shift within him. This was no longer just about keeping the diner open, it was about igniting hope in places where despair had settled. Everything we've worked for is coming to life, he told her, and for the first time, he saw a future, bright with promise. Whatever happens next, I know we can face it, together. Sarah smiled, tears of joy shining in her eyes, defining a moment where everything shifted. Together, she echoed, and just like that, they realized they belonged to something even greater, a family, a community, and each other. As the night closed with cheers and awards, it became clear that their bond had been solidified, a promise to uplift each other and their town, no matter how daunting the road ahead may appear. But lurking in the recesses of Jake's mind was the awareness of Ryan and his volatile plans. As the community packed away their hopes, Jake's gaze landed on Ryan on the sidelines, his facade cracking, revealing a sinister undercurrent. With the spark ignited, the journey would no longer be easy. But surrounding this boyish ambition were deeper connections, ones that would stand the test of time. Here's to new beginnings and joys, Sarah said softly beside him. Indeed, he replied, the air thick with the promise of transformation, and as they bid everyone good night, Jake felt a warmth envelop him, fueled by mutual strength. Whatever Ryan had in store, they had ignited hope in Maplewood, and together they would cherish each heartbeat to keep it alive. As they walked home, hand in hand, Jake knew this marked the start of a chapter filled with challenges, but their story was just beginning. With their hearts emboldened, they were ready to face whatever came next. And then it occurred to Jake, this was their moment. Let us cherish this, Sarah. It's important. Support each other in every way. But a small voice of doubt still lingered. What unseen challenges awaited them? Would their newfound hope endure? Only time would tell, but as they approached the diner, under the soft glow of fairy lights, one thing was abundantly clear, they were ready to confront them, a brave heart in a courageous community. It's a journey that had just begun. Now, if you're feeling inspired by the love and hope in this story, you need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive tales. Leave a like now to feed the hungry algorithm waiting for more stories like these. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to show your support. Only true fans understand how vital these actions are for the channel's success.